This illustration deals with identification of control conductor insulation in accordance with NEC 410.69. The purpose of change was to provide a new section, and this new section has been added to prevent lighting control conductors from being installed using the same color as the branch circuit conductors. One common control conductor scheme is to use purple and gray colored control conductors in line with 200.6a. It specifically permits white and gray to be used in the identification of grounded conductors. A shock incident could occur when any gray control type conductors are inadvertently spliced to the grounded conductor. The panel concludes that wire colors reserved for the grounded branch circuit conductor or the grounding equipment grounding conductor should not be used for control conductors. Ungrounded conductors can be any color. But what this is kind of pointing out, you have a designated color for the grounded conductor, and you have a designated color for the equipment grounding conductor, and these are designated where the ungrounded conductors can be any color except those just mentioned. The first revision was intended to reduce the chance of improved field connections due to possible confusion caused by the wire insulation color. Internal wiring and luminaires connected in the factory by the manufacturer is not subject to field connection, and we know in 90.7 the code states is. While the first revision language implies this, it was not explicitly stated. The new section will have an impact on a large number of controls, drivers, and ballasts that have integral wire lead connections. All these products will need to undergo changes to lead wires and wiring diagrams to remind and remain code compliance before the industry can start to process this change. The industry will need to establish a new standard to replace the historically purple and gray conductors that have been used universally. Without a standard, each manufacturer could use a different color combination, which would lead to greater confusion between the potential for miswiring and safety concerns. Developing an industry standard color combination and implementing the change across the volume of different products cannot be accomplished by the 2020 edition of the NEC. So an extended effective date of January the 1st, 2022 has been determined. Now let's review the type of luminaires at the left-hand top side of the illustration, and it basically states luminaires identified for through wiring in accordance with 410.64b. And then if we look at the circuitry that you see that's below the ballast there, call out, then the circuitry is in 410.69, and of course that circuitry there is for the supplying of the ballast. And then notice if you have a, a feed-through type fixture, then you could run your control circuits through that area and be isolated from the line wiring. Now, the effective date we called out, as you see right above the fixture layout there, is the 1st and the 1st of 2020, but we have a delay date of January the 1st, 2022, before the color coding scheme kicks in. So at this point, let's review the notes. Note 1, The control circuits are spliced, terminated, or connected in the luminaire or enclosure shall not be colored as phases, equipment grounds, or neutral type conductors. And in course, the note 2 to the left, a gray colored control conductor can be installed if the installation can be re-identified as outlined in 410.69 exception. Note 3, when identifying the equipment ground in neutral, see 200.6, 215.19, and 310.6, and you get the identification or color coding of your equipment grounds and your grounded conductor are neutral. Now, the fourth thing that we would look at is right next to the person performing the maintenance procedure there. And for methods of grounded and grounding, see 200.6 and 250.119. And of course, we are referenced to these sections from 310.6 of the NEC, where all sections would be identified for color coding or identifying conductors based upon them being unphased conductors, non-grounded phase conductors, or where they're grounded conductors, neutrals, or equipment grounding conductors, bonding jumpers, and so forth. So this kind of covers this new section as well as can be covered to relate this information to the user of the NEC.